In Chinese opera, there is a special group of people known as piaoyu, or opera fans. It's said that the word piaoyu comes from the Cheng dynasty. The term refers to amateur performers and musicians. When an amateur becomes a professional, there is another term for the practice, xiaohai, literally meaning go into the sea. Where there are operas, there are amateur performers. Peking opera amateur performers are the most active, and many of them are quite good. They are proud of their ability to perform in the vocal style of the Cheng school of Peking opera, because it's the most beautiful, but it is also the hardest to master. It was created by Yanqiu.
His voice is described as touching and sweet-sounding. His innovative style of singing is believed by some to have the power to influence people's minds. In an era when Chinese opera performers were held in low esteem, he emphatically called for reforms in Chinese opera and an exploration of the social functions of art. How did he develop his own style of singing? How did he become a master of Peking opera? How did he overcome his own limitations to reach his peak after many setbacks and hardships? Today, Shaoshengfeng Alley is a tourist attraction in Beijing, but during the Qing dynasty, it was a territory of the Plain Yellow Banner, an imperial Manchu army. Cheng Yanqiu was born here in 1904 with a Manchurian name, Socorro Cheng-lin. Cheng Yanqiu's forefather followed Prince Regent Aisin Jioro Dorgon in his conquest of China and was knighted because of it. Cheng Yanqiu's father, Rong Shou, inherited his knighthood. Life in Beijing was precarious during the early 20th century, yet tea houses and theaters beyond the South City Gate were flourishing. Here, Peking opera was enjoying its golden age. Every evening, people went by carriage from the city center to the famous theaters. Cheng-lin's mother was one of them. Less than 1 year old, Cheng-lin often fell asleep in his mother's arms, listening to the operas. No one would have thought that this child from a noble family would spend his life on stage. In 1905, when Cheng-lin was 1 year old, his father died. The family, having lost its foundation, gradually declined in the turbulence surrounding the late Qing dynasty. His mother started looking for a way to support the family. When Cheng-lin was 6, a neighbor, a Hua Lian, a performer of a classical male opera role with a painted face, made a suggestion to his mother: send the child to learn Peking opera.
那个时候就把戏曲看作是一种建业，上面有帝王将相，这是贵族；中间有平民，士农工商；昌优立足，那就是惰民，也就是贱民。
As a former aristocrat, it was certainly very difficult for Cheng-lin to decide to earn his living as a humble entertainer. Although ordinary Chinese opera performers had low social status, a famous actor could earn a fortune. In the late Qing dynasty, Master Tan Xin-pei might earn 50 silver taels for one performance, while the salary of a highest-ranking government minister was only 180 silver taels per year. Many years later, Zheng Yanqiu wrote in his memoir, "My family was so poor that if I agreed to be an apprentice, my mother would have fewer burdens. So I agreed without hesitation." With no intent to pursue a dream of art or an ambition to make a career, Zheng Yanqiu started to learn Chinese opera, learning a skill to support his family. Later, Zheng Yanqiu described his training in his memoir. "On the first day of my apprenticeship, I began to practice, sitting on the ground, back against the wall, legs apart, and trying to keep my knees unbent. I used 2 flower pots to keep my legs open. The goal is to do the splits so that my body and my legs are in a straight line. Sometimes I was so hungry in the morning that I would eat something secretly before practice began. But when I bent forward and my teacher held my back, I would throw up my breakfast and face punishment. The teacher often said, 'If you bend backwards with a full stomach, your intestines will break.' Apart from training, the apprentices also helped with cooking, cleaning, and errands.
他在营业仙家学戏的时候什么都干，而且还经常挨打受骂。他最后总结了一句话：他度过了一个悲惨的童年。
Zheng Lin gained solid basic skills and a firm and tenacious character under the strict tutelage. However, family misfortunes and a difficult childhood also made him shy, sensitive, and somewhat depressed. Beneath the young boy's handsome face, unique temperament, and perfect voice, Huang Diexin saw his potential to become a famous Dan performer, a female lead role in Peking opera. At 7 years old, Zheng Lin began to embark on the road to become a century master. The Dong'an Market in Beijing has been bustling for more than 100 years. A century ago, Beijing's famous Dangui Theater was located here. One day in 1915, a young Dan performer made his debut in the Dangui Theater. 11-year-old Cheng Lin was to warm up the audience for him. The Manchurian named Socorro Cheng Lin was not considered suitable in theatrical circles, so the young man had his first stage name, Cheng Junong. Cheng Junong's premiere was a huge success. The next day, most theatrical fans talked about him instead of the leading actor. People said he had a pretty look and a wonderful voice. Some senior theater goers predicted he would become a famous Dan artist, like Mei Lan Feng. Seeing his apprentice so popular among the audience, his teacher, Huang Diexin, arranged more and more performances for him. Cheng Junong often had to perform from afternoon till evening. His fame soared with frequent stage appearances. Soon, Cheng Junong was very popular in Beijing. A theater fan wrote a poem to Cheng Junong to express his appreciation for him. He said, Cheng Junong's wonderful voice and elegant demeanor were as good as those of Mei Lan Feng, one of the brightest stars in theatrical circles. The name of this theater fan was Luo Yingong. Luo Yingong was 32 years older than Cheng Junong. He once served as General Yuan Shikai's secretary and as a member of the State Council. Due to his discontent over the restoration of the monarchy, Luo Yingong quit his political career and became a scholar. Luo Yingong was a good friend to many famous Chinese opera performers, such as Wang Yaoqing and Mei Lanfeng. He loved art and was active in funding and writing operas. He would become the most important person in Cheng Junong's artistic career and life. To become a master, one needs to have both natural talent and the favor of fate. Luo Yingong knew that without academic knowledge, one could not become a creative artist. He personally taught Cheng Yanqiu poetry and calligraphy. To improve his artistic training, Luo Yingong regularly took Cheng Yanqiu to watch films. As Cheng Yanqiu concentrated on learning, fate played a cruel joke on him. Due to overwork, Cheng Junong's voice cracked in 1917, when he was only 13, far sooner than usual. Cheng Yanqiu was in a panic, as he seemed to have developed a ghost voice.
这个鬼音呢是行内的一种说法，他想高的时候这个音可能走低，他想低的时候这个音可能走高，就是说他的音他自己控制不了，这个音飘忽不定，像鬼一样。一般出现鬼音的演员，一般就不可救药，一般就会改行的。
Neither Cheng Yanqiu nor Luo Yingong was willing to give in to despair. But who can show Cheng Yanqiu a way out of this crisis? Luo Yingong thought of the legendary Wang Yaoqing. Wang Yaoqing was born into a family of opera artists with exceptional natural talents. He laid down a solid foundation for the development of Dan performances. He was also a great teacher who was able to vary his classes according to students' aptitude.
Chinese Peking opera is different from Western operas in terms of voice. First of all, there are no voice parts in Peking opera, at least not in the Western sense. Instead, it has different types of roles, namely Shun, a young man, Deng, a young unmarried woman, Cheng, a bombastic middle-aged man, and Zhou, a white-nosed jester. The vocal element of Peking opera is based on written lines, so it requires clear pronunciation, and the notes should follow the inherent tones of the Chinese characters. Western operas, on the other hand, are based on melody, and the tone of the words is determined by the musical notes. Both Peking opera and Western opera emphasize the importance of breath control. Peking opera pays attention to abdominal breathing, while Western opera focuses on coordinated breathing involving both the abdomen and the chest. Another major difference is the use of the falsetto style of singing. Falsetto is never used in Western operas. In Peking opera, however, actors portraying females and young males all sing in falsetto.
王耀庆先生对症下药，他编了许多的新腔，让程先生不是用嗓子去高亢的嗓子去跟人家拼，是用很好的腔儿，很有韵味、很精听的腔儿，很耐听的腔儿。
After 2 to 3 years' practice, they finally found a method to produce sound using his breath rather than throat. Cheng Yanqiu invented the unique Cheng style of singing.
他通过这一条本来已经坏了的、完全没法唱戏的嗓子，找到了一种特殊的声音的表达，走出来一条险路。
To a Dan performer, the changes and misfortunes Cheng Yanqiu experienced could mean the end of an artistic career. However, with his extraordinary willpower, uncommon talents, and the help of many masters, Cheng Yanqiu managed to turn a crisis into an opportunity and carve out a special road to mastership. Over the past century, many artistic styles of Peking opera appeared, but there were only a few of them known for their style of singing.
人们突然发现，原来这样的声音也很有魅力，也很动人，甚至更有一种特殊的一种感染力。
Over half of Beijing's theaters used to be located near the Zhongyang Gate. The Zhonghua Theater has a history of over 200 years. Its former doorplate still remains today. In February 1922, Cheng Yanqiu returned to the stage there with his new style of singing. At this time, with the help of Luo Yingong, he had founded his own troupe, the Huasheng Troupe. The Huasheng Troupe's debut caused great sensation. They performed repeated encores. In spring and autumn of that year, 18-year-old Cheng Yanqiu performed the lead role in Beijing and Shanghai and soon made a name for himself. It's generally believed that after his performances in Beijing and Shanghai in 1922, Cheng Yanqiu's style of singing began to take root in people's hearts. In 1925, the role of Dan performers in Peking opera was rising quickly. Mei Lan Feng, Cheng Yanqiu, Sheng Xiaoyun staged a number of new operas and created their own representative styles. People used to say that Mei Lan Feng was as gentle and lovely as a lady. Sheng Xiaoyun was as charming as a prince. And Cheng Yanqiu was more like a scholar. Cheng Yanqiu obtained this scholarly temperament because he had been taught by his mentor, Luo Yingong, for so many years. Some people said although he was in his early 20s, he had demonstrated maturity, rarely seen in his peers. Cheng Yanqiu often responded to these comments with a silent smile. When he was alone, the pain and regret in his heart never ceased. In September 1924, his mentor, Luo Yingong, died of overwork. Cheng Yanqiu had just turned 20. The death of Luo Yingong was a heavy blow. Luo Yingong not only gave him a second chance in art, but elevated his artistic accomplishments as well. Luo Yingong was also the planner responsible for all of Cheng Yanqiu's new operas. Would Cheng retire from the theater or hold on alone? After some thought, Cheng Yanqiu decided to write and stage new operas by himself. At the age of 20, he told his new wife, Guo Su Ying, it's time to start all over again. This much-loved record was made by the Great Wall Record Company in June 1931. It's an aria from the Peking opera 4-5 Flower Cave, sung by Mei Lanfeng, Cheng Xiaoyun, Cheng Yanqiu, and Xun Huisheng. It was a big hit at the time. In 1930, a vote by readers of Shanghai's Theater Monthly honored Mei Lanfeng, Cheng Xiaoyun, Cheng Yanqiu, and Xun Huisheng as the 4 famous stands in Peking opera. They had their own different styles. Mei Lanfeng was elegant, full of the charisma of a king. Cheng Xiaoyun was more masculine. He often played female generals. Xun Huisheng was lively. He played lovely and joyous ladies. Cheng Yanqiu was 26, the youngest. He had a unique style of singing and an exquisite manner in his performance. In the vote, he sometimes even outscored Mei Lanfeng, who was 10 years older than him.
Young people in China today call beautiful women goddesses, unaware of the fascinating goddesses once portrayed by Mei Lanfeng, Shan Xiaoyong, Cheng Yanqiu, and Song Wei-shen, who were actually men. The only similar art may be Japanese kabuki, in which the female parts are all played by men with heavy makeup, traditional costumes, and headgear, all to celebrate the ancient beauty of Japanese women. However, kabuki is simpler than Peking opera, as singing and dancing are only a small part of the performance. Peking opera performers sing and dance constantly, as well as occasionally perform fierce fight routines and difficult somersaults.
In January and August 1931, Cheng Yanqiu staged and performed 2 tragic works, Tears of Wasted Mountain and The Dream of a Lady, to express heartache over the unjust wars taking place in China. People lived in misery during this national crisis. Cheng Yanqiu closely linked his artist's creation with the nation's destiny. With smooth melodies and realistic plots, Cheng's operas soon swept the country.
程派的这个风格在当时受欢迎是可以想象的，因为在那个万方多难的时代，对吧？所以他演苛政猛于虎，他演人们的苦难，特别是妇女的受压迫呀，就这样一些苦难，人们通过看他的戏来发生了共鸣。
In the 1930s, many new ideas were introduced into China. They offered new inspiration to the people. Although society became more open, the Chinese theatrical world was very conservative. Peking opera was still deemed as a mere pastime, and Peking opera artists held low social status. Cheng Yanqiu wanted to be more than just an entertainer for dignitaries. He had a profound understanding of Peking opera's current situation, as well as the changing times. January 1st, 1932, was Cheng Yanqiu's 28th birthday. Instead of having a birthday party, Cheng Yanqiu announced that he was going to change his stage name to another Yanqiu. The new name means inkstone in Chinese. He wished that he would become as hardened as a piece of inkstone. It demonstrated his self-esteem and view of himself. This is the way he responded to social prejudice. "3 days later, Zheng Yanqiu's letter to colleagues in the Chinese Opera Circle was released in the Chinese Opera Monthly, in which he announced that he would stop all performances and would be going to Europe to study at his own expense. This film was made on the afternoon of January 13th, 1932, when Cheng Yanqiu set off from Beijing to Europe as the vice director of the National Conservatory's Nanjing branch. Many of his friends came to see him off. Before he left, Cheng Yanqiu talked with many of these friends in his house in Beijing. He said to his colleagues, "I'm going to visit Europe to learn from Western drama and opera, to improve Chinese opera." With kind blessings and farewells, Cheng Yanqiu began his journey to the West. Famous French physicist Paul Langevin traveled with him. Paul Langevin became a friend of Cheng Yanqiu because he had seen Cheng Yanqiu's Tears of Wasted Mountain before he visited Beijing.
陈彦秋是以音乐戏剧院的名义去欧洲访问的，并不是为了去交流演出，是为了向西方人学习。他也确实是听了很多欧洲的歌剧啊等等，很受震撼。
From January 1932 until March 1933, Cheng Yanqiu traveled to what was then the Soviet Union, France, Britain, Germany, Italy, and many other countries. With the help and recommendation of Langevin, Cheng Yanqiu managed to visit various kinds of drama academies and theaters and watch different forms of Western drama. In 1933 Europe, Hitler had just come to power. A war was looming. In Paris and Berlin, Cheng Yanqiu watched many anti-war plays. He was amazed and inspired by their use of stage light and design, the well-structured theaters and backstage, the advanced teaching methods and strong artistic atmosphere. In Hochschule für Musik Berlin, strengthened his determination to reform Chinese opera education. While he studied abroad, Cheng Yanqiu was happy and content. In one of his articles, Cheng Yanqiu wrote, "I have never lived in this way. These are the best memories of my life."
很多人称陈彦秋是学者型的演员，他对于欧洲进行了自费考察。在考察报告中，他提到了对于中国戏曲改革的19项建议，其中8项今天已经完成了。比如说，导演要有至高无上的权利；比如说，要建立舞台灯光学；比如说，人物的表情要和化妆、服饰相结合。
原来都是6点开戏，12点钟散戏，甚至于到1点，观众也累啊，这后台演员也累。33年回来以后，程先生就改了，开始就主戏，7点钟到11点，这个舞台的时间是程砚秋先生改革的。
Cheng Yanqiu set up an orchestra area on the stage and forbid selling food in theaters. Following a series of reforms, theaters became more orderly. With inspiration drawn from Western dramas, Cheng Yanqiu made his first experiment in The Dream of a Lady. He quickened the drum beats and performers' movements in the final scene and invited dramatic artists to redesign stage light. The dim light creates a tragic atmosphere. He also added the harmonica and the violin to the musical accompaniment. These bold changes amazed the audience. They found it novel and refreshing. In May 1935, Cheng Yanqiu became principal of the China Opera School, founded by the National Conservatory. He discarded old practices and set up new cultural courses, which focused on liberal arts. From 1930 to 1940, over 200 students graduated from Cheng Yanqiu and his colleagues' classes. They made long-term contributions to the inheritance and development of Peking opera. A critic once said, Cheng Yanqiu achieved success and won recognition in his early 30s. On the road to becoming a master, Cheng Yanqiu was always sincere, diligent, persistent, and determined. He was always in pursuit of an ideal social and cultural environment in his heart, regardless of what others said. The Zhengyi Temple Theater in southern Beijing is one of the few traditional theaters in Beijing. Liu Xinran is a Dan performer, an apprentice of Ma Yuqi. Liu Xinran is also an artist of the Cheng Yanqiu School of Performance. He often rehearses and performs here. In 2016, he was rehearsing classical Chinese operas that have not been staged for years. After that, he went on a national tour to present both his new operas and classical operatic works. Liu Xinran has come to visit his friend, fashion designer Wang Yu Tao, to ask for Wang's opinions on his new costumes.
像程先生这些大师过去都画画，所以他们对色彩还是很敏感，所以过去他们自己的戏服都自己设计。王老师今天想让您帮我参考一下，是复排，但是呢，服装呢可能要重新做。当然这个底色呢是当时程先生底色是这种血青色，我想灯光打上去的话，这个色彩您帮着参考一下。
其实我觉得你特别巧妙的是用了银丝来去做了一个勾线，这是盘银绣，让整个花朵呈现的更加的立体。那同时呢，它不是单色的，你看我们有白，有浅的鹅黄，同时呢还有青绿，对，这样套色之后呢，其实它整个花朵呈现出来是一个非常强的有一个立体感，在这个舞台上能够既清雅，但是呢又有一些光亮的东西出来，是能够
太好了，太好了。
对，而且这个绿色我本身我自己就特别喜欢绿色。
最传统的东西，最复古的东西，就是最时尚的东西。艺术本身都是可以互相借鉴的。当年程先生，先不说他的服装，从他艺术本身，从他的唱腔、程腔里边，他就吸收了很多歌剧、戏剧女高音的一些发声的方法，来完善他的那个唱腔体系，都是互相借鉴的。
而且他们当时的着装也是非常引领当时的潮流，他们都穿3件套。
梅先生跟程先生
可潮了，对，戴着是小围巾，领带、口袋巾，头发梳得一丝不苟，3件头的皮鞋，包括怀表链这种小的细节的设计，真的作为现在的这种绅士的，完全可以在他们身上有一个非常好的诠释。
In June 2011, the adapted Peking opera The Sung Sisters was put on in the Chang'an Theater, starring Chua Xiaoqiu, a student of Cheng Yanqiu.
当初这也是因人设戏了。宋庆龄这个人物从舞台上的端庄和大气和他的内涵，很符合程派艺术的整体风格。这个唱腔里边很多他的西皮二黄里边都揉了很多很多程腔。
Honored as the inheritor of the Cheng Yanqiu School of Peking opera performance, Chua Xiaoqiu is one of the leading contemporary Chinese opera artists. She and her team are exploring the use of Western orchestral instruments in the accompaniment of traditional Peking opera. From Chua Xiaoqiu's point of view, it's another inheritance from the Cheng Yanqiu School of Peking opera performance.
随着时代的发展，我觉得大师如果说他要现在还在，他也一定会往前走。
The Sung sisters gained very positive responses. Chua Xiaoqiu's experiment won recognition from the audience and the market. While feeling happy about her experiments, Chua Xiaoqiu often asks herself questions. Did I interpret it well? If Master Cheng was here, would he agree with my interpretations?
在我心目中，我就觉得，程砚秋这仨字，这个大师，就是最伟大、最伟大的人，这个感觉啊，真是这种感觉。
What are the qualities of the Cheng Yanqiu School of Peking opera performance? that have amazed later generations. Cheng Yanqiu's representative work, The Lucky Purse, was written in 1939. In his 30s, he had accumulated rich experience in tunes and ways of singing. He was known for his unique characters and elegant demeanor in the field of Peking opera. He had traveled to Europe, broadened his horizon in the world of art, and gained much inspiration. He was on the way to the peak of his artistic career. In many Peking opera experts' minds, Cheng Yanqiu was good at playing tragedies, but this didn't mean he was also good at playing comedies. Cheng Yanqiu asked the scriptwriter, Wang Aohong, to break through this old practice and introduce the rhythm of literary language into Peking opera lyrics. For the first time in the history of Peking opera, both long sentences and short sentences are used in lyrics of The Lucky Purse. In accordance with the lyrics, Cheng Yanqiu also created a new tempo of singing which matches both the plot and characters' personalities. Cheng Yanqiu's musical talent and capabilities are fully revealed in The Lucky Purse. This is the Chinese Children's Theater in Beijing, formerly known as the Jianguang Cinema. 80 years ago, it was one of the best cinemas in Beijing. While staging The Lucky Purse, Cheng Yanqiu and his apprentice, Liu Yingqiu, came to the Jianguang Cinema to watch the American movie The Love Parade. When he heard Jeanette MacDonald singing a coloratura soprano aria, Cheng Yanqiu was deeply drawn by it. He said to Liu Yingqiu, "It is so melodious." After that, Cheng Yanqiu introduced singing skills of the coloratura soprano into Peking opera and designed a special aria at the end of The Lucky Purse. In line with his specially designed arias, Cheng Yanqiu asked imperial luthier Zhou Chenghua to design a huqin, a two-stringed bowed instrument with a unique timbre for him. This huqin was only used to accompany Cheng Yanqiu's arias. When Cheng Yanqiu choreographed how performers move with their long sleeves in classical operas or dances, he incorporated some movements from Tai Chi, a kind of traditional Chinese shadowboxing. The water sleeves dance in The Lucky Purse is still considered a representative work in Peking opera. In April 1940, The Lucky Purse premiered in the Gold Theater in Shanghai and caused a great sensation. After it had been performed 10 times, the audience called for another 10 performances, and it still had a full house every time. Sometimes when Cheng Yanqiu was singing, the audience would sing with him. This had never happened before. Some people say the most valuable quality about The Lucky Purse is that it's full of genuine emotions and beauty while preserving traditional Peking opera techniques and procedures.
他实际上在追求一种博爱，一种大爱。他的代表作就是《锁麟囊》。用陈彦秋自己的话说，他说他是以什么为目的？他是以追求人类生活为目的。
Everyone in China knows that Cheng Yanqiu went to Europe to learn the skills of Western opera, but most don't know that he learned from many Chinese local operas too, transplanting their singing techniques to his performances. His methods were similar to the formation of Peking opera itself. 200 years ago, the famous 4 opera troupes from Anhui province arrived in Beijing and merged their form of opera with the Kunzhui opera and the Xinjiang opera and other local styles. They also adopted the linguistic features of the Beijing dialect. About 60 years later, Peking opera was born.
In September 1949, Cheng Yanqiu, as a representative of Chinese opera, attended the first session of the National Political Consultative Conference. At the end of 1950, in the National Opera Work Conference, then Premier Zhou Enlai shook hands with every participant and justified the social status of Chinese opera artists. Thereafter, Cheng Yanqiu was elected deputy to the National People's Congress and became vice director of the Chinese Opera Research Institute. From a noble descendant in the late Cheng dynasty to a new opera performer, Cheng Ju-nong, the famous Master Cheng, and then a well-respected opera artist who was able to participate in the country's political decisions. It was far beyond Cheng Yanqiu's expectation. He had never felt more respected. He genuinely loved the new regime, society, and the changes happening around him. The audience's applause now had a totally different meaning to him. In 1957, recommended by then Premier Zhou Enlai and General Hua Long, Cheng Yanqiu joined the Communist Party of China. At the same time, reforms were taking place in Chinese opera circles. In order to adapt to the ongoing social development and research based upon various kinds of Chinese opera, the old troupe system was abandoned. In this process, some traditional operas were banned because they were considered inconsistent with the spirit of the time. Cheng Yanqiu still actively worked on the reform measures. In his view, this was what he had been hoping to do over the years, to improve Peking opera so that it could play an even more positive role in society. Compared with his peers, Cheng Yanqiu had a more in-depth understanding of the artistic creation and significance of Peking opera. He summarized years of experience in Peking opera performance, innovation, and reform into articles and books.
我们虽然说四大名旦他们都取得伟大的成就，但是对于戏曲未来从研究角度、从学术角度提出建议的，只有陈寅恪一个人。
Cheng Yanqiu's concerns and contributions are not confined to Peking opera. Around 1950, he visited senior Chinese opera artists in northwest China and southwest China, collected materials of the Shanxi opera and 12 muquam, the representative form of Uyghur muquam, which contains 12 pieces of divertimento, and worked out a plan for a national opera survey.
在这个调查计划中，陈寅恪画了一张戏曲学术研究的路线图。第一个，陈寅恪说要搞一个全国的戏曲志，他说要出一本词典，中国大百科全书的戏曲曲卷，其中他还提到要出一部中国戏剧史。
60 years have passed. The 5 proposals of Cheng Yanqiu have all been accomplished. Cheng Yanqiu combined his love for the country with his love of art. He participated in the construction and planning of his country. This is what makes him stand out from the common people of his generation. After the Spring Festival in 1958, Cheng Yanqiu was making preparations to visit France with a national opera troupe as an artistic consultant. In March, at the age of 54, he was admitted to the hospital after a heart attack brought on by overwork. In the afternoon of March 9th, Cheng Yanqiu had another heart attack. The master of Peking opera died 8 minutes later, after efforts of resuscitation failed. In September 2015, Zhang Huading, inheritor of the Cheng Yanqiu School of Peking opera performance, brought the lucky purse to New York's Lincoln Center.
整个20世纪的京剧新剧目创作里面，锁麟囊可能是最有代表性，也是最有价值的一出。
他对于人物和事件进行了文化评价，而不仅仅是过去传统剧目的道德评价。
像这样一出戏，50年以后、100年以后、200年以后都会继续唱下去。
说明了，说半个多月，官儿那多难呢？是吧？是。他也不容易，学历很高，是博士，戏曲理论特别是啊，钻研的也比较深。但是呢，自己有决心，想舞台上要实践着走。这样的话呢，下决心从台湾来学这个荒山泪，我觉得挺挑战的。
Chua Xiaoqiu is an easygoing person, but she is very strict in classes.
回来的时候呢，也是舒展的，这上面一定举起来的。
Huang Jiaoxin is familiar with the theories. Now he knows how difficult it is in practice.
这脚伸出来点儿，对呀，当当当当当当当，藏，你把这眼神亮出，眼神瞪出来。手眼身法步，缺一样都不成。对，所以这个行是难的，是吧？这你写理论你知道好多东西是干嘛的，但是真正体现在台上，你看多难，对，是吧？一下不到位也做不好。好好努力啊！好，祝你听听好消息。好的，好的。
陈彦秋用自己特殊的一条嗓子扮演了一些特别栩栩如生的人物。陈彦秋是一个为京剧艺术创造了新经典的一个伟大的艺术家。
As a master of art, Cheng Yanqiu's artistic gifts, ideas, and life beliefs have been admired and followed by later generations across time and distance.
If we say Mei Lanfan was the first to take Peking opera abroad, then it was Cheng Yanqiu who brought elements of Western art to China, using them to enrich the beauty of Peking opera in terms of music and choreography. He achieved this breakthrough despite many hardships, finally becoming a master of the art form. During his life, he designed and performed in 108 operas, most of which influenced later performance of Peking opera. His style of art and concept of invention were consistent with his faith, all of which have passed the test of time and stand as an ideal model for his successors.